Welcome back to Relatable Wisdom, the podcast where everyday people share the quotes that shaped how they see life, helping us all find a little more clarity in our daily journey. Today's guest is George Cisneros, a missionary who traded the American dream for life in the mountains of Guatemala. He's a father to nine, an adventurer who's summited dangerous peaks and swum with sharks, yet finds his greatest passion in studying scripture and helping others discover its power. Let's step into George's world for a few minutes and hear the quote that has been guiding his remarkable path. Tell us your name and what you do.
My name is George Cisneros. I am from the United States, but I live in Guatemala as a full-time Christian missionary.
What's your favorite quote?
Man, I love quotes, first of all. So I love your podcast. I think one of my favorite quotes is just, "You're not your past." I think so many people just hold on to who they've been and what they've done. And I think we're much bigger than that.
You are not your past.
Yeah, I think Tony Robbins might have said that.
What is that? Can you explain what that means?
So to me, what that means is that, when I was growing up, I felt like I was not a popular kid. I was not, hanging out with the cool kids. And I really carried that with myself for a long time into college. And at some point I realized that is not me. I was just so young and I was just growing into myself. And so I tried to reinvent myself pretty much every year. And that quote means a lot to me, man.
I was asking you to explain you're not your past. Everybody has a past, right? But now you're saying you're not your past. What is I understand it, but can you explain that in clear terms?
So two things. I think that there's two things that hit hard with that quote for myself. Number one is we're not who we used to be. I am not the person I was when I was in high school. I'm not the person I was when I was married to my first wife. I'm not the person I was even 1 year ago. I'm not the same person. But I think that it takes a conscious decision to be a better person, to improve. And so like I said, I try to reinvent myself every year. I try to be a better version of myself. And I think the second thing is that we're not our past because we can actually change the past. People don't realize that, but the past is only a version of what we think about and a version of what we remember. And so we can actually go back and we can make sense of something in a different way that helps us today. So for example, I grew up, with my father. He never supported, I didn't feel like he ever really supported me in my sports, in school. He never really showed up to any events, any of, getting report cards or anything like that. When I was at sporting events, my dad was always working. And so I carried that with most of my life. I just thought, my dad just didn't love me. And as I got older and I looked back and I really started to think through some of those things, my dad was making it possible for me to chase my dreams, to go to college by working and by supporting the family. He was doing what he knew best, what his father did, which was support our family. But more than that, he wasn't at my games because he was working extra jobs. And so what I saw in my past, the version I was living with was that he didn't love me. But in reality, the new version of my past is that he absolutely loved me. So I guess that's kind of an explanation of what I mean by that quote.
Well, how far back did you discover this quote?
Wow, probably just, Tony Robbins was one of the first inspirational speakers that I ever started listening to. So I would say probably it goes as far back as maybe 25 years ago. Is probably when he said it. So it's been a while, and it's something that I hold on to. And like I said, I use that really as kind of a core belief of mine. I use it every year. I try to do something every year that is improving my life.
Yeah. Okay. You're not your past. I like the example you gave of of how you saw things in the past and now how you everything's way different now that you look at it.
Yeah. Another Tony Robbins quote that I love is whatever you focus on expands. And I guess the meaning behind that is just that, you know, so many people look at politics today across the world. It doesn't matter where you are, but specifically in the United States right now, if you focus on politics, you're going to drown in the conversation of what a president is doing or not doing. If you're focusing on your family, you're going to be able to guide and lead your family well. So where you put your mind and where you focus matters, and it gets
Yeah,
bigger.
yeah, yeah. And it in looking at the quotes, it's both in positive and in negative, right? What we spend our time and energy on, right? Those are the things that expand, those are things that grow. And the things that we don't even spend our time on in nature and those things don't grow. And same thing with let's say you had an occurrence which you consider a failure. Maybe you wrote an exam and you failed, and instead of asking yourself, what did I fail? Or maybe I didn't get those or I didn't understand some of the courses well. Well, how can I understand them better? Right? You could spend 7 days trying to like cry and focus so much on the failure, and guess what happens? You become so sad, and now you're like, oh, well, why is my life this bad and terrible?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I love failing. Like I love failure. I thrive on failure. The quicker I can fail, the better. So when I'm starting something, I my goal is to just get started. I don't really plan things. Um, I don't spend months planning something. I just make a decision and I start going at it because you're gonna learn, from your failures way quicker than you ever would if you're planning it and trying to get it just right. And then you finally get out there to do the thing. Somebody that started on, day one, two, or three, they've already had 20 iterations and you're just on the first one. And so fail. I say fail big and fail fast.
Let's take a quick pause. If you're enjoying this conversation and want more thought-provoking ideas straight to your inbox, join the Relatable Wisdom email list. It's free, quick, and filled with bite-sized insights, inspiring quotes, and behind-the-scenes reflections from our guests. Just head to relatablewisdom.com/join. That is relatablewisdom.com/join. Or tap the link in the show notes. And hey, subscribing to the podcast helps more than you think, and it's free. So if you haven't already, hit that follow button wherever you're listening. All right, let's get back to the conversation. Yeah, yeah. And one of the things that I've been having is that it's okay to start as a beginner. It's okay to start small. Everyone started as a beginner. Everyone didn't know what they were doing, and it's okay, right? Because now what's happening is that everybody who gives us advice, they're all experts, and so when they give us advice, they're telling us what they're doing, what they happening. And I'll give an example, right? Let's say with the podcast, right? You're podcasting, and someone tells you, "Yeah, you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that, and all that." Right? What would happen is that if you're not careful, you might start listening to the advice and playing it in your head that you're like, "Oh, I think I should just stop the podcast for like 2 months. Let me think and evaluate this
Mm.
podcasting. I don't think I'm doing it well." Right? But then instead, I'm like, no, there was one core thing that nothing must happen to, and that is showing up and publishing the content. And with what I have, with how good I am, with my skill level and all that for now, I'll do that. And over time, I'll improve and get better. Now, of course, they'll give me advice and say, oh, this is this, and this is that, this is that. But that shouldn't affect my flow. It shouldn't affect my process.
Absolutely. I love that example specifically. That's great, man. Um, Elon Musk has a quote that I love, and it has to do with Parkinson's law. And it is if you give yourself 30 days to clean your home, it's going to take 30 days. But if you give yourself 3 hours, it's going to take 3 hours. And I think most people spend so much time planning and getting ready for the thing, or they don't realize that things don't take as long as you think they do. With podcasting, most people, to be honest with you, most people quit after 10 episodes. I think, I don't know, some ridiculous number. 75% of podcasts never make it past 20 episodes. And so, you know what? You just keep putting your foot out there, keep putting your your skill out into the world. You're get every single time you do a podcast, man, you're getting better. And man, I love that. So
Yeah,
I appreciate you.
yeah. I like that. I love that law. Um, what with the time you give the task, the work expands to fill it up. And that's the same thing. Most people, you see them, they're like, oh, well, I've been spending 3 months working on this idea. And then I ask myself, what exactly have you been doing? Well, I've been researching and looking at certain things and all that. And then I think okay, I'm just going to say this. One of the things that drives technology improvements, growth, science, and innovation is war, the military. Even the internet we're
Yep.
using right now, it's one of those things that the military they gave us. They're like, oh well, we have this thing, you guys should use it and let's see, right? And the idea behind this is because in war, it's no longer a question of well, let's just explore and play with it. A lot is on the line, like literally there are lives on the line on whether that stuff works or not.
Very interesting. Yeah, man. War is inevitable, and I think a lot of things come out of it that, things come out of situations that we don't expect. I wrote a book, published a book during COVID, man. Everybody else is just, sitting in their house and just waiting for this thing to be over. You know how many businesses, how many millionaires came
Yeah,
out of COVID, Online education exploded during COVID. So I think taking war and taking situations like COVID as opportunities for all of us to grow. Absolutely.
yeah, because yeah, that's true. Sometimes we just need to like have that absolute focus. Because over time, sometimes we we overstress things. We're like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and we just ask ourselves, what is the minimum viable product? And in order to know the minimum viable product, sometimes you really need to understand deeply why you're even doing the thing in the first place.
Absolutely.
Because then you're like, okay, if I'm starting this, because for example, let's say you want to put up a website, you're like, oh, I need to have the flashy slider and stuff like that. I'm just speaking for example, let's say you want to start guesting on podcast, to get some leads for your business and all that as a marketing strategy. And you're like, well, I need to have a website. In that website, it has to have a flashy sales stuff. And people, when they come on the website, they would see what my stuff is about and they will see a timeline and all that. And I'm like, why do they go to the website? Because they just want to like contact you, they want to sign up or something like that. And why do you have to make it complicated? You're like, well, I need to use this software. This software is really awesome and fast. Like, just use Google Forms and embed it on the website. Ask them for their email and as simple as that. It doesn't get more complicated. Well, if I need to pay for this software, it's not like the softwares are not important. They have their place. But the question we should ask ourselves is that um, wanting to pay for softwares, wanting to use all these things, they shouldn't stop us from doing the work.
Absolutely. Yeah, what do you put your work out into the world and do it quickly and you'll learn from there. But you've got to do like Alex Hormozy says something to the effect of, most people dramatically underestimate how much work it takes to be successful. But if you're sitting behind a desk and you're just, planning and trying to pick the right software, that's not the work he's talking about, man. You got to put your work out there. And so you get going. I guarantee you've learned how many podcasts have you done so far?
On this one, going on to 150 episodes.
Dude, that's insane. So you've learned so much more than, somebody who is studying and trying to figure it all out. Like, just get out there. You're going to learn what works and what doesn't work. And, so a lot of people spend a ton of time, and I think there's value in it at a level, but a lot of time editing and making it super smooth and silky. But at the end of the day, people want good information. People want to be inspired, and specifically with what you're doing, they want to get something that they can hold on to, and they don't need like a bunch of I don't know how much editing you do, but you don't need a ton of fancy editing. You need to get it out there, right? So, man, that's awesome.
Yeah. Sometimes we're in our head with that we spend something that was supposed to take us maybe 15 hours to get started. You see people who want to create content on YouTube I'm like, YouTube is free. Yes, you don't have to pay anything. To sign up, it doesn't take in less than 5 minutes, depending on your internet connection. You have a YouTube channel. And if you want to post a video, you just to take your phone and say, Hello, everyone. My name is Wisdom, and I'm going to create this channel. I'm going to be posting some content about whatever the feed you're in, and then you just take it and you upload it like that. And you're like, well, I need to put in the flash and all that. You see, sometimes I go back and I look at some of the content that were made in the what's the word in the 60s. I connected my calendar to have alarm. So every time there's a reminder and alarm, it rings because in the past I would, if I'm not with my phone actively pressing my phone, it won't ring out, so I would miss meetings and all. Especially you saw when you hopped on the call, I was sleeping, and it was your voice with the headset connected to my ear. It was your voice that was like, I don't know how long you were on the call before I responded. Was it that?
3 seconds.
I heard the voice and it was like, I was like, oh yeah.
Dude,
I was
man,
even
you're
confused.
amazing. You're amazing. You were absolutely amazing. Like the fact that you're up at whatever middle of the night right now and you're chasing your dream. I love that, man. You've inspired me. I love it.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm able to do that. Thank you.
100%. So I
Yeah.
want to give you a quote that I came up with, just kind of one of those quotes that really kind of defines who I am. And that is that comfort numbs the senses. Comfort numbs the senses, but adventure sharpens your senses. And
Ooh.
suddenly, in adventure, you're alive in every moment. So, what that means to me is that I don't want to be comfortable. I don't want to live a comfortable life. Dude, I turned 59 in a couple of days. I'm going to be
Oh,
59 years
congrats.
old. Yeah, man. And so every year I try to do something that is really outside of my comfort zone. Have you ever heard of you? I'm sure you've heard of David Goggins, right?
Yeah.
So David Goggins has something called the 4x4x48. It's the Goggins challenge. It's 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. So you end up running in 2 days. You end up running through the night. You end up running 48 miles. And I did that 2 years ago. Um, I have wrestled an alligator. I have summited, Capitol Peak in Colorado, which is probably the most dangerous. If you research it, it's probably the most dangerous peak in Colorado. There's 53 peaks that are above 14,000 feet. It's the most dangerous peak in Colorado. I summited that. Next year, I'm doing something called I'm going to be climbing Stratton Mountain, which is in the United States, and it's a mountain in Vermont. I'm going to climb it. I can't remember, it's 13 times or 17 times to reach the total elevation of Mount Everest. So they call it Everesting, and it's 29,029. So I'll climb it. It's like, I can't remember. I should know, but it's a year away. So it's 13 or 17 times to celebrate my 60th birthday. But don't get comfortable in life, man. I'm going to be 60 next year. I don't know. You're obviously a young guy, and life, if you let life get comfortable, the years begin to fly by. But if you want to slow time down, be adventurous, do at least one adventurous thing that's out of your comfort zone a year, like one big life-defining event one time a year. If you plan something that is kind of a mini event, so it's not as that big, life-defining one-year event, but if you like something that's out of your comfort zone, but maybe just not as big, maybe it's a weekend, or maybe it's maybe it's even traveling with your wife or your best friend, or to somewhere that you've never been, or maybe it is running your first 10K. Whatever it is, try to do something every other month. So 6 times a year you're doing something that you wouldn't normally do. I guess the best way to just describe that is do something you wouldn't normally do. For example, in next month, I'm going to Cuba in July. I'm going to be traveling to Cuba. In August, I'll be flying back to Colorado and climbing a high mountain with my son and my father. My son is 24 years old. So just plan your life out, man, to be adventurous, because it when you start to get older and you start getting more comfortable in your life, generally getting comfortable in your job, getting comfortable in your relationships, life goes by very quickly. And so
Yeah,
I feel like I have figured out how to slow life down, and that is through adventure.
yeah. Thanks for sharing that realization with me and my listeners.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, it's been an absolute delight sharing ideas and just having this conversation about quotes.
Thank you so much, man. I'm jealous of your name. My name's George. Yours is Wisdom, man. If you want to trade, we probably make that happen somehow.
The part when you said you've wrestled with alligator, I remember the a speech Muhammad Ali gave, and it was like, "I've wrestled with alligator. I have murdered a. I am so mean. I make medicine sick."
I love that.
And I was just smiling and laughing because that's the stuff
Yeah.
that was just playing in my head. Okay, what do you do, and where can my listeners learn more about you and what?
So here's what if I had to say what I do. So I'm a Christian missionary. We sold everything in the United States that we owned. We left the land of opportunity, and we moved to a small mountain village. We live in a village with 5,000 people, and I teach Bible to a small middle school that we established in a small village. And so I teach Bible every morning, and then after Bible, they go and they learn math and science and all that other stuff, language, all the other classes. So that's what I do. But what I'm passionate about is I love teaching people about the Bible and helping them fall in love with reading the Bible. So if anybody wants to reach out for some reason, they are interested in exploring the Bible, you can sign up. I send out my notes. I study the Bible and then I send out my notes once a week, and you can find them at coveredinhisdust.org. That's my passion. I literally wake up and I can't wait to just open the Bible, take it apart, figure it out, and then rewrite in my notes in a way that I can explain them and that people can understand. I think that the Bible is hard to understand. So that's what I do, man. That's my adventure. If there's one adventure that doesn't get old to me, it would definitely be reading the Bible, bro.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, um, can you pronounce and say out your name fully so that in case people are looking for you on the social media platforms like LinkedIn and all that, they would know what to search.
Absolutely. I'm really active on Threads and on Twitter, and so if you're on there, I'll definitely look you up. But you can find me at George George Cisneros Sisneros. And actually, now that I think about it, on social media, I'm just one G Cisneros. And yeah, I'm easy to find. George Cisneros. If you just do a search for my name, I think I show up pretty quickly. There's not too many of us out there, but yeah, man, I appreciate you.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. You've been listening to Relatable Wisdom, and I've been your host, Wisdom Okonkwo. You've been listening to the podcast where every story, quote, and insight helps you see life a little differently. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow the show on your favorite podcast app and share it with someone who loved the conversation. For more inspiring voices and timeless wisdom, visit relatablewisdom.com. Until next time, keep living, learning, and collecting wisdom that matters most to you.